Now, the latest from ITV News Meridian with Sangeeta Barbara and Fred Dinage.
Good evening and welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines. Tears and tributes. A community in shock struggles to come to terms with the horror of the Shoreham Airshow disaster.
The grim recovery operation. More wreckage is removed from the crash scene as the painstaking search for clues continues.
Also tonight, it's an old problem. Why your age could stand in the way of getting a job.
And a picture for posterity as the Rugby World Cup continues its tour. Some are already getting an appetite for the game. Good evening. It's a community in shock, still trying to come to terms and make sense of what happened. Hundreds of people have been arriving all day near to the scene of the Shoreham Airshow disaster to pay tribute to those who died.
Identifying all the victims of the Hawker Hunter jet crash could take weeks, the coroner for West Sussex has warned, with the investigation a slow and painstaking operation.
Sussex police estimate the number of people thought to have died in the tragedy still stands at 11. Last night, a fourth victim was named wedding car driver Maurice Abrahams, who was 76 and a former Hampshire police officer.
3 other victims are Worthing United players Matthew Grimstone and Jacob Schilt, and 24-year-old personal trainer Matt Jones from Littlehampton.
Motorcyclist Mark Trussler from Worthing is missing. Fears have also been raised over 23-year-old Daniel Polito, a young father who is also from Worthing.
Well, the number of flowers and tributes left on a footbridge near the crash scene has continued to grow. Andrew Pate is there live for us this evening. Andrew, another day of extremely emotional scenes.
Yes, absolutely. I've been here since early this morning, and throughout the day people have been coming along despite some terrible weather at times, because they've wanted to lay flowers and to leave tributes. In actual fact, one woman took me to one side at one point and she said this bridge should be renamed. Now, this is known as the Old Toll Bridge, but she said it should be renamed the Bridge of Flowers, because she said that's what she will always know it as from now on. People have come from across the region to support each other and to show their respect. Spanning the River Ada, this bridge has become a sea of flowers. The community coming together to try to come to terms with what has happened.
I was just reflecting back to last Sunday, which was in the aftermath of the disaster. The whole town was very numb. There was a silence over the town, as if people didn't quite know what to do. They were trying to take it all in. Obviously, since yesterday, people have become more active, and this tribute here, these amazing flowers, has grown and grown and grown.
Matthew Grimstone was on his way to play for Worthing United. He was also a member of Brighton and Hove Albion's ground staff.
Very gentle man in the true sense, one of the kindest people you could ever meet. As we all said this morning together, he never had an ill word to say about anyone.
76-year-old Maurice Abrahams was working as a chauffeur on his way to pick up a bride, a job he did for Erica Davis-Budgeon 2 weeks ago.
We were only talking last night about how lovely he was and how wonderfully special he'd made the day. He was just lovely. He was genuinely a pleasure to spend time with.
A book of condolence has been opened in the Civic Centre, while a Just Giving page was launched last night. More than £8,000 donated already.
Obviously, it's really hit home hard on the locals for Shoreham of what's happened. It's not just local people, but it's just people that are out and about on their normal daily lives doing things, and they haven't made it home for whatever reason on that day.
Everyone here doing what they can to show their support.
You know, it's just truly amazing. Everyone's come together, and you know, the community spirit that's around to show their respects.
As work continues on the A27, the flowers and the support continue to arrive. Now, one quick update. Also sadly passing away was Matt Jones in this tragedy. A Facebook appeal by one of his friends has already had over 60,000 hits. That friend wanted to find Matt's old sports car so it could be at his funeral. Now, reports this evening say that old Toyota sports car has been found, but also many other owners of a similar car say they will turn up to the funeral to show their support.
Andrew, thank you very much indeed. Well, at the crash scene, the harrowing task of recovering the bodies of those who died is continuing.
The plane came down on top of a queue of traffic at a junction lined by spectators. It careered along the road before bursting into flames on the side of the westbound carriageway.
Today, the final parts of the crashed Hawker Hunter have been removed. Up to 300 emergency workers are involved in the operation. They will be offered special counselling, as Malcolm Shaw now reports.
Under a sombre sky, the search for the victims of the air crash goes on. 11 people, now thought to be the likely total of those who lost their lives. The fuselage of the plane has been removed from the site, but the recovery operation here is far from over.
It's the bereaved that we need to focus on, and the search that we're doing and the examination that we're doing is to gather as much information as possible to best inform the picture of what occurred on Saturday afternoon and why it occurred.
The ferocity of the explosion was such that identifying the victims will be a slow and painstaking process. The coroner for West Sussex urging the public to show patience and understanding.
Due diligence has to be done, and that takes time. We need to get this absolutely right. There'll be an inquest. And so we ask everybody, I know people want answers, but could they bear with us?
The wreckage of the plane was spread over a large area. Every fragment must be recovered to help establish the cause of the crash. The Hawker Hunter was travelling at 400 miles per hour as it began the loop. After climbing and flipping upside down, the plane should have pulled out of the manoeuvre at the same height it went in, a minimum of 500 feet for displays. But some experts say the aircraft came out too fast and too low. In the final moments, the pilot seemed to pull its nose up, but with the vintage jet still descending, it crashed. Hundreds of emergency workers have been exposed to highly distressing scenes. They'll be offered special counselling.
Ambulance personnel are exceptionally resilient people, but they are still human underneath the uniform that they wear. So from our point of view, it's about making sure that we support and welfare check those members of staff on a regular basis.
Under police escort, a private ambulance removes the body of another victim. The A27 likely to remain closed till the weekend at least, as this harrowing operation continues. Malcolm Shaw, ITV News, Shoreham.
So what now for the future of air shows? New restrictions announced by the Civil Aviation Authority mean an immediate ban on the performance of aerobatics by vintage planes over land until further notice.
Well, including Shoreham, there are 27 air shows this year across the Meridian region. Two of the biggest, Eastbourne and Bournemouth, have already taken place.
There will be no air displays at this weekend's Carfest at Overton in Hampshire, and performances at the annual Dunsfold Air Show will also be impacted, as Mike Pearce now reports.
For airshow organisers, the new rules are a major headache. All planes can fly past, but older jets, for the time being, are not allowed to perform stunts over land. Shows are being changed, others cancelled. Alan Cassidy has spent his life competing and performing aerobatics. He says the new rules will have an impact.
It'll have a big impact on what actually happens at the air shows. I've heard of one or two already that in the very near future which have been cancelled already out of a mark of respect. Some people are modifying what they're going to do.
Alan is also a long-time friend of Andy Hill, the pilot of the plane that crashed at Shoreham.
Sad, disappointed, because we know that the reaction to these events is always a little bit over dramatic sometimes in the media. People get a little bit carried away, and accidents like this are very rare.
Those who witnessed the last major airshow crash, which claimed 29 spectators at Farnborough in 1952, have been giving their reaction. One was at Shoreham on Saturday.
I know the aircraft, I know the way they're maintained, I know the way they're flown. And there should not be any problem at all. They just need to obey the rules. The peculiar thing is that since that airshow crash on Saturday, I've been reliving Farnborough, not that crash. It's sort of all come back.
Meanwhile, there's relief some planes are still able to take part in shows. The Vulcan is in its last few weeks of flying.
Vulcan is a non-aerobatic aircraft. We're prohibited from doing aerobatics, barrel rolls, loop-the-loops, etc. So from the point of view of the new CAA regulations, they really don't apply to the Vulcan in the way they apply to other heritage jet aircraft.
That must be a relief for you and the supporters who want to see her before she goes in October.
It is indeed. We are working with the CAA to understand any restrictions they might like to place on us.
Mike Pearce, ITV News.
Well, joining us live now from our Westminster studio is the MP for East Worthing and Shoreham, Tim Lawton. Mr Lawton, thanks for being there. We've just seen in Mike Pearce's report that the Civil Aviation Authority has imposed some restrictions on flying displays. Do they go far enough?
Well, I'm pleased that CAA have acted quickly, and this is quite a wide-ranging restrictions that they've brought in. And it's right, we've got to take a precautionary approach until we get to the bottom of exactly what happened and the full facts and what measures need to be changed in the future. There will be inconvenience to air shows coming up, but frankly, that's the least people should be able to accept compared to those tragic loss of lives that people in Sussex have experienced over the weekend.
We don't, of course, know the full details yet, but there are clearly lots of bereaved families. What support can we offer them?
Well, I have to say, I visited the site yesterday. I saw probably over 200 emergency service personnel on site and at the control headquarters doing a fantastic job. They really are working together well. Something like 11 family support officers have been working around the clock from the police, working closely with those families. There are social worker supporters from the county council. I mean, it's so difficult to know what is enough support to give, but the police are handling this really sensitively. And I know family members were able to go and visit the site today to pay their own respects in clearly really difficult circumstances. I've nothing but praise for the emergency services, and I've just been speaking very recently to the Home Secretary, who wants to pass on her gratitude and respect and pride in what our emergency services have been doing at this really difficult time for those families. And as we've heard in your piece, those first responders, those emergency service personnel who've seen some really, really harrowing scenes themselves need to be supported too.
Absolutely. Tim Lawton, most grateful to you. Thank you for joining us.
The latest on the recovery operation, any breaking news and tributes to the victims can be found on our website. The address is itv.com/Meridian.
Let's take a look now at some of the day's other news. People are being warned not to approach a man who's absconded from an open prison in Aylesbury. 47-year-old John Rooney left HMP Spring Hill yesterday morning and caught a bus from Bicester to Oxford. He was sentenced to 27 years in prison in 2003. Police say he could pose a risk to the public.
The man who died in a crash in the New Forest involving a fire engine has been named as 25-year-old Darren Harvey from Woolston in Southampton. Mr. Harvey was married with 2 children and died when his car crashed with a fire engine between Lyndhurst and Brockenhurst on Saturday night. The fire crew were on their way home to Winchester after dealing with a gas leak in Lymington. An ambulance driver and patient were killed on the same stretch of road in 2013.
The body of a Berkshire woman who went missing in Mallorca 8 years ago has been found in a remote mountain area. Jacqueline Tennant, who was 45 and from Lower Early, disappeared on a hike while working on the island for a travel company. A walker found her remains and a rucksack containing her identity papers. Spanish police say there appear not to be any suspicious circumstances.
A Berkshire man who saved more than 600 children from the Holocaust will be honoured on Royal Mail stamps. Sir Nicholas Winton arranged for 18 trains to carry Jewish children from Nazi-occupied Czechoslovakia to London in 1939. He lived near Maidenhead and died last month, aged 106. The stamps will be issued in 2016.
Families in an Oxfordshire village are fighting to save what they say is a vital green gap protecting them from being swallowed up by the nearby town of Didcot.
Yes, people living in East Hagbourne fear a modest proposal for 170 homes will lead to a mass development with hundreds of properties.
But the company behind the scheme says more housing in the area is vital. Kate Bunkle has our report.
The weather matches the mood in East Hagbourne. The village is rallying against a proposal for 170 new properties on this land, which they say will cost them their identity.
This area is known locally as the Green Gap. So you've got the town of Didcot ahead of me and behind me the village of East Hagbourne. So the purpose of the land here is to separate the two. And the villagers say if you build on it, you just get one huge urban sprawl.
They're prepared for the long fight.
I'm building a tree house. I'm going to put myself in one of these trees here on the Green Gap because I really don't want to see this happen. But people want the council to stick to the plan. They consulted on that plan. They spent our money making that plan. And we want the council to stick to that plan and see off this speculative development and put housing where housing should be.
The biggest fear is that this proposal is a Trojan horse, which if agreed would eventually mean hundreds of houses are built here.
There are two parcels of land effectively, the one that you can see straight ahead and the one that basically in an L shape. They're two different developers and actually ultimately two different landowners. And access is a key issue. So once there's a point of principle being established for housing on one site, it clearly brings forward another.
This is a village which won't accept being swallowed up by the local town. It's very proud of its own identity.
I just think it's awful. It's just like the building houses just because there happens to be a gap, a space there.
It's just completely diabolical. We've got enough houses in the area, and I mean, if you build any more, it's just going to destroy all the countryside.
The developer Granger plc says it's delivered leaflets to more than 3,000 homes. A spokesman said many in the community will benefit directly from this housing, and there has been a good representative sample of people who expressed support for the new homes. The campaigners say they understand the need for more housing, but that it can't be at the expense of their village. Kate Bunkle, ITV News, East Hagbourne.
Right, time for some sport. Sarah Gom, is there a rugby tournament coming up?
Just a small one, I think, Fred. Yes, there might be. With just 24 days until the start of the Rugby World Cup, the sport's most treasured prize, the Webb Ellis Cup, visited Berkshire today as part of its tour of the UK and Ireland. Fans were given the chance to get up close and personal to the trophy and meet a rugby legend. Mel Blore reports.
ITV Meridian Sports Report, sponsored by WeWantAnyCar.com, the Cash for Cars website.
2003 and Johnny Wilkinson makes history with a drop goal that wins England their first ever Rugby World Cup and the chance to lift the Webb Ellis Cup. Today that trophy came to Reading, to the station.
The trophy will be on tour across the region over the next few days, offering rugby fans a chance to see and have their photograph taken with the sport's ultimate prize.
It's really exciting to see it on the way to work. I'm a big rugby fan, we've got quite a few World Cup tickets.
No, it's fantastic to see it here. Want to see it in an England player's hand in a couple of months' time.
The trophy's named after William Webb Ellis, the so-called inventor of rugby. It was first handed out to New Zealand, the winners of the 1987 World Cup.
So the trophy was made in 1906, so it's 109, and it was just made as kind of a decorative piece. And in 1987 was when the first Rugby World Cup took place, and so they've had everything planned out, and they suddenly realised that they needed to find a trophy, a prize to give away. So they went to see a jeweller's in London and they said, oh, how about this one? And they picked it because they really liked it and felt like it had the power to become a really iconic trophy of world sport.
And there was a double treat for rugby fans today as they got to meet one of the legends of the game.
There's not many World Cups that you can get as close as you can, like this, like the Rugby World Cup. As you can see, it's here at a train station and people just can wander up, take a photo and everything. And it's, it becomes very personal. It's the people's trophy.
The trophy tour has definitely helped increase levels of excitement amongst fans, even those who aren't that much bigger than it. Mel Blore, ITV News, Reading.
A minute's silence will be held at each of tonight's Capital One Cup matches as a mark of respect to those who lost their lives following the Shoreham air crash. 5 of our sides play in the second round of the competition tonight. Bournemouth have made the long trip north to Hartlepool. Portsmouth host Reading, and Oxford and Brighton are both away from home. All ties must be decided tonight. Poole Pirates Speedway rider Darcy Ward remains in a stable condition following a crash whilst competing in Poland on Sunday. The 23-year-old Australian underwent a 2.5-hour operation following what's been described as a severe accident. The England women's hockey team are through to the semi-finals of the Euro Hockey Championships after a 2-0 victory over Italy. Reading's Helen Richardson-Walsh scored her second goal of the tournament to help seal the win. And the women's England cricket team begin their quest to tie their Ashes series with the first of 3 T20 matches tomorrow. They play at Chelmsford. Meanwhile, their wicket-keeper, Sussex's Sarah Taylor, has become the first female cricketer to be inducted into the county's Legends Lane, a section of the county ground that celebrates its greatest ever players. And Hampshire play their Royal London One Day Cup quarter-final against Gloucestershire at Bristol tomorrow. Captain James Vince hopes they can progress in the competition, having already reached T20 finals day.
Yeah, I think last year it's the first time it went back to 50-over cricket, so we probably didn't adapt as well as what we could have done. But this year we played some good cricket, and it's nice to be able to still be in with a chance of getting to Lords.
Best of luck to them. That match should begin at 10:30 tomorrow morning. Fingers crossed.
Forecast later. Thanks, Sarah, very
Thank
much. Now, something which many of our viewers might have already suspected, a new study that shows older job seekers are facing discrimination.
Yes, researchers sent in applications for almost 2,000 jobs, one CV from someone in their 20s and one for a 50-year-old. They were identical apart from their ages.
The results, older candidates were 4 times less likely to get an interview, as Matthew Hudson explains.
Debbie Towers knows about recruitment. She's worked in the sector all her adult life, working for a number of employers. Now 50, Debbie wouldn't put her age on a CV in case she's rejected because of ageism.
I'm also disabled as well, and I've never put my disability on a CV either. And I think that subconsciously, I think when you sort of get to a certain age, you do possibly think, could I be discriminated against?
New research suggests Debbie's being pretty shrewd. Anglia Ruskin University sent out more than 1,800 almost identical CVs, half from applicants aged 28, half aged 50. Overall, the older applicants were more than 4 times less likely to get an interview than the younger ones. For women, the figure was 5.3 times less likely. For men, it was 3.6 times. Under the 2010 Equality Act, it is now as illegal to discriminate against somebody on the grounds of their age as it would be to discriminate against them on the grounds of their race, their religion, their gender or their sexual orientation. But this report shows that this message is not getting through to far too many companies. DIY specialist B&Q has a reputation for employing staff from right across the age spectrum.
If you look around, you've got what I call kids of 16, 17, right through to 70, and we all bring enough to make it work. We help each other out, we all bring something different to the customers and to the company. Works well.
We bring experience, and I think we bring a bit of knowledge, a bit of wisdom to the party. I think we have quite a bit tough at the older end, we've seen life.
It didn't really make any difference whether the companies have professional HR practitioners or that they have these written equality statements. The practice of managers making decisions on the ground seems to be, well, it doesn't seem to be, according to our research, is still illegal and certainly somewhat worrying.
Rises in the pension age mean we're being expected to work until we're older. How long until not employing someone because of their age becomes as unacceptable as not employing them because of their colour. Matthew Hudson, ITV News.
Rotten weather can only get better, or can it? Manali Luca.
That's us driving on, us driving off in France, and us outside a chateau.
Driving to Europe. Eurotunnel Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather. Hello there, good evening to you. Weather patterns over the next couple of days staying unsettled. We've got a number of low pressure systems close to the UK feeding in spells of rain, breezy at times too, but on the plus side things do look a little bit more promising as we head towards the bank holiday weekend. Now today has been a disappointingly wet day. You can see the rain that pushed from west to east through the course of today. Heavy rain at times. Now through the course of this evening the rain will continue to clear off and pull away into the North Sea, leaving a legacy of clouds, some clear breaks developing, but out in the wings the next batch of rain ready to move in. So overnight tonight, although starting off dry with some clear spells, the rain will push in further spells of rain for a time, turning quite heavy by dawn, and a wet start to the day first thing tomorrow morning, but very quickly through the course of the morning the rain will push away towards the east, behind it from the west, turning drier and brighter. By tomorrow afternoon we're looking at bright spells but also a scattering of showers with temperatures reaching highs of 20 degrees Celsius. Have a good evening. Bye-bye for now.
Eurotunnel The Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
In just a moment here on ITV, we have the national and international news with Mary Nightingale and Alistair Stewart.
I'll have the Meridian late news. Join me if you can. But for now, from the team here at ITV Meridian, thank you very much indeed for watching. Take care of yourselves.
Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.